What's going on, guys? Julien here, back with another video. Today, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 mistakes that I see players make all the time. If you fix these mistakes, you'll improve instantly. And I'm talking turning, not only becoming a better player, but just turning like a bunch of losses into wins. Right? Before we get started with the video, I want to remind you all, Friday, September 12th, that's 2 days from today, I'm dropping the masterclass. So be ready. Vanxel K9 Masterclass. You want to become a pro at Vanxel K9? Make sure to check that out. So mistake number 1. This is probably like the most important mistake, is incorrect deck building. Because no matter how good of a player you are, right? If you build your deck incorrectly, and I say this all the time, you're just not giving yourself the best chance to win. A big thing about this is playing like an unoptimal deck list, right? And playing too many 1 to 2 ofs, right? Of course, in our decks, there are 1 ofs that are like engine requirements, right? But when we look at non-engine, right, and even engine sometimes, I see a lot of players playing like so many 2 ofs because, oh, they don't want to draw more than 1, right? If you're putting cards in your deck, for the most part, right, it's because you want to draw those cards, right? So if you want to draw those cards, why are you playing 2 of it? I see so many lists with like 2 nib, 2 imperm, 2 droplet, like Ash Blossoms at 3 just because of like Fulos, everyone's playing 3, but 2 Bell, 2 whatever, 2 this, 2 that. No. You're playing a card, you want to draw it. I don't care if it's a hard once per turn, right? The probability of you drawing 2 of 1 card when you're playing 3 is actually so low, it's about 5%, right? So that'll come up like once in a tournament. Like once in a tournament. You're okay with that, with drawing it twice. And you're going to say, oh, I get unlucky, whatever. Ignore luck, statistics. Statistics are what matter. If you are playing a card in your deck, it's because you want to draw it, you want to play it at 3, right? Sometimes you can have like a card at 2 because you're trying to fit your deck down to 40. You want to see your other cards more often. That's okay. But if you're playing a deck, again, 3 ofs. 3 ofs are the way to go. Another thing with deck building, you want to be playing 40 cards for like the most part. Unless you're playing a deck with infinite bricks, then you're already playing the wrong deck, okay? There you go. Play 40 cards because we're in a format where drawing these impactful cards is like the most important thing you can do. And the highest probability of you drawing those cards is by playing 40 cards. I want to see Fulos, bro. I want to see Holy Sue. You don't have to be, you don't have to be a Vanquishable K9, but whatever deck you're playing Yummy. I want to see Obedience School, right? I want to see these cards. I want to see Ash Blossom when I go first, so I can Ash Fulos, right? Play 40 cards, please, please, please. On to the next mistake. Mistake number 2. Overextending into hand traps. This is something I also see players do all the time. Just knowing how to manage your resources in your hand and not overextending into hand traps. Like a perfect example I can think of, right? You're playing Yummy. You activate Obedience School, you have no other plays, okay? I see players do the full combo, right? Where you don't even place the pop field spell, Croaky, you place the other field spell, and then you go through your Lollipop Synchro. You go through all this. Why are you doing all that? Your Yummy combo is full combo once you have a Link 1 and a level 1, right? So in that example, all you need to really be doing, right, is you need to be summoning your search Cupsy Yummy Way, right? You search with Cupsy Yummy Way. You search 2. You end on your field. You make sure you got rid of all your Obedience School summon monsters because you don't want them to die. And then you pass. You don't need to summon Lollipop. Then if you get Nib, guess what? Bang, Lollipop, summon more bodies. You don't have to fully extend it to the Nibiru. Like, as simple as that. Another way to, like, not overextend into hand traps or just, like, play around hand traps properly is, like, in Vanquishable K9, for example. Just know when, like, you can afford to be hand trapped on your Vanquishable monsters. Like, you have a certain number of K9 cards, a certain number of Vanquishable cards. Don't lead with your Vanquishable cards if you only have 1. If you also have K9 plays, like, the K9 cards are the best at eating hand traps. So lead with that. Let those get hit by hand traps. If your opponent has impermed your Ripper, right? Now you cannot play around Nib anymore, right? Know how to put cards on the field, create a healthy amount of disruptions while still having in your hand a way to extend past like a Nibiru, right? We never want, when we're going first, to in our head be like, oh, well, I really hope he doesn't have this card, right? Unless it's like specifically like that one card will just naturally stop your plays, then sure, at that point, understandable. But you never really want to be like, oh God, I really hope he doesn't have Nib. If he does, I explode, right? You don't want that to happen. So again, know how to manage your resources in your hand, on your field, in your graveyard, compared to what your opponent can have in their hand, right? Next, I want to talk about, playing to your outs. Like, when you're in a position where it is looking like impossible to win, how do we convert that that loss into a win? So, for example, um, it's actually like sometimes players will play to not lose versus playing to win, right? Your opponent is like making some plays that are about to swing you for game, and you can put everything on the board that you have, and then they won't kill you, but then you'll be on 0 cards. This is like a half board, and so you like can never win, right? For example, you can't do that. You have to here give them an opportunity to actually go for game while also giving them an opportunity to misplay, right? Sometimes when you can't win, you have to like put it on my opponent will mess up, right? And that's all you can do, because giving them an opportunity to mess up versus giving them an opportunity to see that okay, they can't kill you but you have 0 cards left, like there's one that has a possibility to win and one that has a possibility that has no possibility to win, right? A great example of that is like in at the NAWCQ, one of my opponents, I had nothing, I had no disruption, he had full malice combo, and at some point I like went hare, summon rabbit, set MTP, and if I activate MTP, right, I automatically lose because he can just access code pop my monster, right? And I have follow up, but I have 1 card against like a half board. In this scenario, I didn't do anything. I didn't activate MTP. He popped both my monsters with access. Oh, he popped my MTP and my monster with access code, and then he didn't swing for game. And now I had life points. Like I didn't play to not lose, because if I played to not lose, then I lost. If that makes sense, right? It's like you play to not lose in the immediate, but then the next turn you lose anyway, so who cares, right? You're still actually not going to win. Whereas if you play to win, you're again giving yourself a chance. Another example of how you can capitalize on like playing to your outs is putting your opponents on like better have a card in certain scenarios where you lose to that card anyways. So let's say that I'm playing Malice, right? And I'm thinking, like, I'm like trying to be conservative into Nib, but I actually still lose to Nib if you really think about it, right? Sometimes you try to play around a card, but then you don't think like 3 steps ahead and you're like, wait, if they actually activate this card on me, like I lose no matter what. So sometimes you have to full send into the card because you lose no matter what, but you can generate more resources by actually playing harder into the card, if that makes sense. The next mistake is, tunnel visioning on your combos. So one thing that I like and don't like about Yu-Gi-Oh is the way that like spreadsheets are approached, right? I think that spreadsheets are very good for quickly learning how combos work in a deck, and I think that understanding how your combos work is very important. However, once you start getting hand trapped, right, in real game scenarios, spreadsheets don't always show you like how the hand traps will interact with your combo, right? A spreadsheet sure can show you like how one hand trap interacts with your combo, but once you start being in a real game and multiple hand traps start coming down, you have to start improvising, right? So you don't want a tunnel vision on your combos. Like you don't want to just be like, okay, this is how the combo interacts, like just goes from point A to point B. You need to understand that going from point A to point B is like not always going to happen, and once you start having to take some zigzags because of the hand traps, you need to understand, you need to adapt. You also need to adapt past game one. When you know what your opponent's playing, you need to adapt your end board, know what disruptions are able to like beat your opponent the best. For example, again, I'm playing Vanquishal, I'm against Yummy, right? My opponent's hand trapping me, and now I have a decision to make. I could either have the Vanquishal trap, or I could have like some extra K9 cards on the field, right? Against Yummy, Obedience School, if I don't have the Vanquishal trap, explodes me. I just lose, right? So in that scenario, I should really put more emphasis on getting the Vanquishal trap, a card that against that deck, like just clears the Obedience School combo. Like against Yummy, if you have the trap, I'm just gonna let you guys know right now, you never have to activate it until they go battle phase, or they force it with a Croaky. Here's the thing, if they put up a Croaky, you still don't have to do anything, because right now they can't put up big monsters, right? So they actually have to go through both field spells if you have the trap set. Like stuff like that. Just understanding that like the combos you learn in practice are not always going to be optimal. Once you're in an actual game and hand traps start being dropped, you start playing against different decks and having to know how to end on a different board against different decks through different hand traps. It's like all these things that you have to manage and think of at the same time. Last but definitely not least is time management in matches. And I feel like this one was important before, but now it's even more important. right? Just because of the double match loss thing, right? If you go to time, you can now never win. Like, it's not a possibility. You lose. You automatically lose. Time, GG. Like, put the fries in the bag. You both lost, right? So, a way to, avoid getting to time is having good time management. And one way to have good time management is like just playing a lot of games, right? Like playing a lot of games, like for practice, obviously, not only helps you, combo faster, understand interactions faster, not have to read your opponent's cards. All those little things save you time, but as well, it actually helps you identify game states that are unwinnable and allows you to scoop up a game faster, right? For example, I have two Vanquishal cards in hand. I have three breaks. My opponent full yummy combos me. If I didn't know better, I'd be like, I'm gonna try to beat this, right? Any player, I don't care how bad they can be, any player can stop my two Vanquishal cards with their full yummy board. I'm scooping right here, right then, right? I might as well save 30 minutes. 30 minutes, or I might as well save, 10 minutes, have like an extra 30 minutes in my game. Like, I scoop up, I still have 47 minutes, right? They're comboing me. It looks like they kind of know what they're doing. I might have as well have all that time so that game 2, when I beat him real quick because my deck is insane going first, now game 3, I have all the time in the world to try to beat them when going second, right? Stuff like that. So again, time management is about knowing how to combo, like knowing how your deck works in and out so that you don't have to take extra time, like figuring out your combos on the fly, right? And then like that kind of goes back to the previous mistake that people make is like you can adapt much faster once you know the ins and out of your deck, right? You don't have to just only tunnel vision on your combos and then you get hit by something, you're like, where do I go from here, right? You don't have to do that if you know how your deck works properly. So knowing how to combo, knowing the interactions in the format, and knowing how to scoop like at a reasonable time, right? So that way you don't have to run into time. Because again, we don't want to run into time. So that's going to be it for today's videos. Which mistakes do you catch yourself making, guys? Like, please let me know in the comments and talk it out. Again, I try to respond to like all the comments. So if you have any other mistakes that you think you are making, let me know in the comments and I can try to help you guys with that. But anyways, that's it for the video. Check out the masterclass Friday, September 12th. Thanks for catching by and bye-bye.